as well. One of these days I'm going to be able to do it where you can see the screen and not the slides. So, good morning, everyone that's watching. It's Monday morning again. I think I say that nearly every single time. I had a really good weekend. I had a very late birthday evening with my other brother and his wife and his two children, and so that was really fun. So it's nice being showered with food and cake, so it was very nice. So anyone that's watching the webinar, if you say good morning, I see that we've got a few people on here. Love to see in the chat, good morning. Good morning, Anna, how are you? And if you're watching the Facebook Live or the replay, we'd love for you to say hi as well and let us know you're there and where you're watching from. So if you're on Facebook Live and you don't know why I'm looking at a different screen, it's because I'm doing this as a webinar, and if you want to be able to see the actual slides from the webinar, then place in the comments below that you would like to register. So just put register and we can actually send you the link so that you'll be able to see the slides as well. Good morning, Raya. So let's get started. This is a really big topic, and I had to try and work out how am I going to condense everything in 30 minutes. So let's see if I can keep myself on track. So it's multi-dimensions. Do we live in more than one place? I think I put in the Facebook Live that it was just dimensions, and do we live in more than one place? So I would love to hear your thoughts on that if you're on here before I start talking about what my understanding is. So I'd love to hear what you are aware of already and what's happening for you in your life through this process. But let's begin because it is a big subject. So as always, I'm just going to share who I am for those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting. So my name is Elizabeth Eleanor. I am the spiritual warrior, and you're watching on my on my business page, or this is being shared in various places. So I have been a remedial massage and energy healer, and now I'm energy mentor. Well, I've been an energy healer for about 18 years plus, and a massage therapist for 20 plus years. Took that hat off. It doesn't suit me anymore. It's not something that I'm really been drawn to. And I moved from Far North Queensland, which I lived up there for about 17 years, and I moved to Sydney to be closer to my family and to support my mum as she's transitioning through her life into older age. However, I went through a major process, as a lot of people do, where you sort of wake up and you understand. Well, first of all, I didn't understand. I had all these weird things happening to me and I had no idea what was going on. And I went through a process of discovering it for myself because I had no one in my life that actually understood what was going on for me either. And so I went through that process and moved through various levels of development and spiritual development. And that's what a lot of people, if you're someone that's sort of just come to the understanding of spirituality, you will be able to see that your things are breaking down for you at the moment, and they have been for a lot of people for many, many years, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. But it's been a really, really interesting and exciting journey. I hear people starting their journey now and I go, oh, I remember when it was that exciting when I first started. Weird miracles happening, you know, angels talking to us, talking to me, and people that I was meeting. I learned a lot through being drawn to spiritual people and the right teachers at the right time. You know, I think friends can be teachers as well. Anyone can be a teacher, right? And so it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. For some reason, I'm thinking of a beautiful woman that's a American shaman that came and stayed in my little country town, and her name was Jill Stevenson, and she was had learned under various famous shamans, and we had some major experiences as we went along. And I remember one of them was the manifestation of a pack of angel cards just in our car. Like, there was no, it just happened. It was crazy. That's a story in itself, so I won't go into it because I've got so much to cover. However, I did, for those that have never heard my story, I did do 7 years of past life regression, very intense every weekend, and through that process moved a lot of my old timelines and density that I'm going to talk about now, because I've never spoken about it in that way before. So I'm going to share it in a new way for you today. So what are we consciously living in? That's a big question, isn't it? Because for most of us, we think we're living in, I'm just looking at the chats, I have been aware of being in more than one place. Yes, Christine. We've got very similar paths, Christine, so that does not surprise me whatsoever. So most people think that we live in 3D, in the third dimension, which is where Earth resides and where we are consciously present of. So we've got up, down, left, right, backwards and forwards, and height, width and breadth. So that's what the dimension explanation is, right? It's also got past, present and future. With ourself, it's memory, emotion and imagination. Then we've got the science of protons, electrons and neutrons. All of them are in threes, right? And this is the dimension of form and time. This is where we become physical beings, and we're having a timeline experience, which gives us the opportunity to observe ourselves through the opportunity of space being separated into time, so that we've got the opportunity for reflection, right? So the other part of being in 3D is the duality of it. So we've got the opportunity for external point of view. So there is the us, the higher self, and then we've got the viewpoint of everything being external to us. So we have the opportunity to see things as relative. Something's hot because we're cold. I'm a girl, so there's a boy. There's the observation of things as an external to us, right? It's also cause and effect. And then when you go into the science, there's a whole, I remember getting right into science at one stage in my late 20s, early 30s. So science and string theory, if anyone's heard of string theory, they are seeing that there's 11 dimensions. They may have discovered, I have a feeling that they think there's 12 dimensions. But at the moment, as far as I'm aware, because I haven't really studied it for a long time, they are in the process of, you know, they are seeing 11 dimensions. So it's all quantum physics stuff, right? And I'm not going to get into it because it's a big thing. So in a scientific point of view, they believe that the dimensions are so tinily packed together that they're naked to our human eye. So they're so small that we can't see them. And Albert Einstein's theory of relativity works for any amount of dimensions, not just the third. So, you know, way back, the geniuses of our time had an understanding of what was going on. And I'm sure I would have loved to have spoken to him, because I'm sure that he was moving and evolving into a more spiritual understanding than when he first started. So how many dimensions are we aware of? So we've got 1 through to 7 that I just wanted to cover. So first dimension is rocks, minerals, crystals, all of that sort of thing. I haven't got a crystal with me. Oh my gosh, it's in the bedroom. And so anything that's got a rock this is a pumice stone, so volcanic rock. All of those things are like first dimensional energy. Then we've got the second dimension, which is plants and elementals. So the spirit world of plants has that second dimensional energy. Then ours is the third dimensional, which is form, duality, time, which I just explained. Fourth dimension is spiritual space and time, has moved slightly into a more etheric energy. And this is what they call the astral plane. And so it's still part of the linear time. However, this is sort of like the bridge into the next dimensions. And so the fifth dimension is higher self union and connection and contact. So being aware that there's another part of ourselves that we can contact. And the sixth dimension is more embodiment of that. So fifth and sixth are sort of merging together, and with the fifth, you're aware of it and you have contact every so often. Sixth is when you can really feel that as being in you, as mingling with your spirit as a physical being, and you're having that real connection, spiritual experience. And then seventh dimension is Christ consciousness, where you are completely that being, no separation whatsoever. And that's where, you know, Jesus, Buddha, there was a whole heap of previous teachers that had that essence to them, that understanding. You know, Christ said, the Father and I are one. You know, so what he was talking about was that embodiment of that higher source energy, and having it down here on earth as part of, so in the seventh dimension, there's the opportunity for your body to transcend into the higher realms in different, you know, a different sort of quantum energy than what we can see as physical matter, or the opportunity to leave completely and not be here. So third, fourth, fifth, and potentially sixth. Third, fourth, fifth, you're still in that process of coming back and learning stuff. Sixth, I would say maybe, and seventh, excuse me, you only come back if you choose. You don't have to come back. There's nothing for you to learn anymore. You are the I am presence. You are the embodiment of Christ consciousness and source energy. And in that process, you can choose to come back. You don't have to come back, or you know, not that we ever have to come back, but you know, you're not learning lessons in a way. You know, there's no education for you as much. So dimensions. So we have the presence of all dimensions, however, we're not conscious to that presence. So we are on many dimensions. This is where it's going to get a little bit complicated for everyone. Potentially, maybe not. Maybe you're totally aware of this and this is just a remembering, right? So if this is all a little bit over your head, just soak it in, because it will bring clarity and awaken some of your light bulbs inside that something may shift later on down the track. So just absorb the information if you can. So we are on all dimensions, but whether we're present and conscious of those dimensions is another thing. There are infinite possibilities and timelines. So this is where it can get a bit tricky, because they're very separate, but people can get confused with timelines being dimensions. However, in the space of and I would say, like in the astral plane, for example, there's the opportunity for when you're having an experience. Let me start with this. When you're having an experience, so right now we are all online listening and I'm presenting. However, there's various different timelines that this might not be happening, or something goes wrong in this presentation, or something goes amazingly right, or you have a huge awakening, or you don't. All of the possibilities are actually endless in what could happen at any second, nanosecond, because every nanosecond, and science is getting to understand this, and I actually heard this from a scientist, that they believe that every nanosecond the universe is there and then not there, there and then not there. So there's this tiny pulse that's happening and new creation every single time. And let's bring it down to us. At any given moment, you can choose to be here or not. So right now you might go, this is boring, I'm getting off. Or you might be going, this is really interesting, I'm going to stay on. Or you could be making yourself a cup of tea and missing this information and not absorbing it properly. Anything could be happening and is happening at various timelines. So there's infinite possibilities. And this is where the mind can get caught if it's in the 3D. And I'll go into that a little bit later, in being one or the other. But there's opportunity for all. And when I talk about density is when there's a vibration that's denser than another vibration. So lower vibrational energy can have a dense energy to it. So for example, let's keep the example as here right now. For example, we could be watching this and all of a sudden the house explodes, right? Now, that would be a timeline with a very strong, dense energy to it. And so where I've put here, the density and timelines can be explored to shift vibration and open up new possibilities. This is what we're doing when, if anyone comes to me from multidimensional healing, we're going into a particular timeline that happened, an experience that you've experienced, and we're shifting that vibration to a new timeline, something that's a new possibility. So instead of the house exploding, you know, we go back in time and discover that we left the gas on or something like that, and we can turn it off, and that shifts that vibration for the you, now, I am person that's experiencing it. It shifts the energy within you and releases that energy to a different timeline, so that you're in a more successful timeline. I won't go too much into that because it is a little bit, can do your head in. Most that are present to this presentation would potentially be moving out of third dimension. So I'm going to explore third dimension a little bit further. So third dimension is, most of us that are on here, I'll say it now, most of us that are on here are not necessarily living in duality all the time. Now, you might slip into that, but potentially you're more aware of not having been an observer of things rather than making a judgment of this is this way and that is that way. It is energy. This is this because this is that. You know, going into fear because of COVID, going into anger because you've had a fight with your spouse or whatever it might be. Most of us that are drawn to this particular presentation are jumping out of third dimension, where you're in that cause and effect and looking at things as either or, and moving into the higher dimensions of being aware of the oneness, being aware of your higher self, being more connected to that energy and observing life and not making as many judgments about things and responding to life rather than reacting to life. So if you're watching this, I would say that that's where, you know, you're resonating to this because you've got that connection already, right? Fourth dimension is the bridge between worlds, and this is the astral level. This is where astral travelers, people that go in and out of their body, and I've worked with a number of, in fact, I'm working with a woman at the moment that has this as well, goes into astral planes, and I've worked with others that I remember a woman that I was working with that would jump out of her body and be on the ceiling at work and not want to work out how she got there, like what was going on, and, you know, see everyone. And so we took her through a journey of being able to control that, and then learn how to even talk to people when she went, because she started going overseas and stuff and meeting people. And I said, oh, you know, you can talk to them. There's a reason they're there, and blah, blah, blah. So the other thing about the fourth dimension is it's a little bit chaotic and it can be a little bit challenging. If you're someone that is playing with different dimensions and playing around with different worlds, be aware that entities are that's where they reside, in the fourth dimension. And you know, you can get caught being the observer rather than reacting. Yes, Anna, that's awesome. So yes, fourth dimension can be a bit tricky and you can get some nasties in there. So if you're playing with spiritual, or you found yourself in a place where you're learning about spirituality and you're by yourself and in your innocence, be aware that the fourth dimension can be consuming, and it's something you want to move through rather than get stuck in. So we can and we do move between dimensions. We're here looking like we're physical. The earth is in the process of moving from the third dimension into, I would say, actually between the fourth and the fifth dimension. And that's why we've got COVID. That's why we've had all these fires. That's why we've, and you know, flood, all the things that are happening is a breaking down of the patterns and the collective consciousness that's on the planet at the moment, and moving that to an observation and an understanding of higher energy that we are connected to, and coming from a place of wanting compassion for others, wanting compassion for the earth, wanting to understand that this is a sacred place, and connecting on a higher level with where we live and the sacred and holiness of that. I don't know if you're aware, but holiness just means set apart. So, you know, when we understand the presence and of where we are, because I think Gaia lives, like the energy of the earth lives on the sixth dimension, potentially. I'd have to feel into that. And so that energy is, you know, her physical body is moving through into the fourth and fifth dimension, and that's what all this breaking down is all about, right? So all dimensions are to educate and shift your reality, except the seventh dimension, which I said before. So the seventh dimension is Christ consciousness. You are just the embodiment of the source energy. Everything is you. You are everything. And that's, you know, the sixth dimension. And the seventh dimension is, you know, the archangels reside in, where they can be, you know, I can call on Archangel Michael, and so can 500 other people, and all of us have the experience of responding to them as well. So, and that happens in other dimensions as well. I can call on my dad if my, you know, my dad doesn't come just to me. My dad would be with my mum and, you know, my brothers, whoever else, my kids, even though he never met them, I know that he hangs around them. Not that they're aware of it, but he hangs around them as well. So, yeah, there's so much, you know, could go on forever with that. And in those higher dimensions is where, you know, that connection to your energetic healing abilities can happen, though they can happen lower down as well, just not as defined as it is in the fifth and sixth dimensions. So just to let you know, you cannot rush the process. A lot of people I know want to. Believe me, it's not worth rushing the process. Your head would explode even if you could. If you're looking for an end result and you're looking for something to achieve at the end, you want to be in sixth dimension now, then potentially you're still in the lower dimensions, because that is looking for a result. That is in the it isness, instead of just going through the process. And I remember when I was going through the process of spiritually awakening. My kids were very little, and I had a really long period. I would say maybe a couple of years, maybe a year. I'm not the best with time, but where I was actually seeing spirits all the time. I was like, I remember one time I was sitting at a kitchen table with a girlfriend. She was in the sink in front of me, and there was a hallway down the side. And as I was talking, I saw someone in the corner of my eye, and so I went like that. And she said, "Oh, what did you see?" And I said, "Oh, I thought I saw someone going to the door in there, but there's no door." And she said, "Oh, there used to be." And so I saw someone go through the wall, but there used to be a door there, right? And oh, my story of the little girl on the side of the road that's a story for another time. However, when I didn't believe that I could see her, because I used to see her all the time, pretend that she was one of those reflector posts, because I didn't believe that I could see people, that were ghosts at that time. She was one of the first. And when I had this experience of asking if I was, working for God and the right, on the right side and everything, and got this major experience, 3 shooting stars in a row. That's a big story. I went, okay, now I can explain, I can believe or see that little girl and know that she's real. So, and once I told her that she just needed to turn around, that her family was behind her and everything, they all left and never saw her again. So the thing is, I was in this period of time as I moved from fourth dimension, from third dimension into fourth dimension, and then went past that. And I'm sure that I could see ghosts now if I chose to. However, it's not something that I stayed in. I allowed, people can get stuck in that level where they see ghosts and they think that this is it, I'm in the spiritual realm. Or they can be in that realm for other reasons. It can be that they're not stuck in there, that they're there to do that, to be that transition, to be that bridge between the realms for other people. So that was not my role. I was not here to get in contact with spirits and then communicate with spirits and make it comfortable for others. My purpose is to shift people and move them through that into the higher realms, so that we're shifting the planet's vibration and we're all going and connecting the way we're supposed to be, moving higher and higher. So yeah, you can, when you go through that, when you just be aware that it's just a process, and if you stop seeing ghosts, that's okay, that's not you're losing anything, it's you moving into a higher and higher place. So that's it for that slide. So anyone that's watching this are potentially in the fifth dimension, and just because no one really talks about where we're at, and it's not something that's even spoken about much, so I thought I'd bring it up. If you're experiencing any of these signs, then it's signs that you are in the fifth dimension. One of them is synchronicity. So everyone, well, not everyone, if you're on here and you don't know what I'm talking about, synchronicity is when you think of something and then it's there, or you have a dream and you wake up and the song's talking about it, or the other day, for example, I was looking for my phone and I'm on it. The other day I had my phone upside down, and I've always got it on silent when I'm working, and so I was working away doing whatever I was doing, and I thought about someone, and I thought, oh, I wonder, I might give them a call, and I lifted my phone up and they were actually ringing me. So those are the sort of things that is synchronicity. Also, everyone, not everyone, but people are seeing a lot of numbers. So the triple numbers, the numbers of like in 4, quadruple numbers, I think they call that. Now that's something that I'd like to just make a quick note of, because I've mentioned it a couple of times on my Facebook page, because I've seen triple numbers for 18 years. Like, it's been something that's been, you know, a regular occurrence. However, it'd be just every so often I'd see these triple numbers, and at one stage I was looking them up. If you're excited about your triple numbers, you can actually look up angel meaning 4, and you can put the like 111, 222, 333, whatever you're seeing, right? And so you can actually look them up and see what those numbers specifically talk about. And so what I'm noticing though is I'm seeing triple numbers like 5 times a day sometimes. And so where I'm like just tuning in to do this presentation, because I have been saying that something's shifted, and I have been feeling that it's, instead of it being about myself or you, is more about the planet. And so as I was tuning in for doing this presentation, I can feel that that's the case, that this synchronicity, because the earth is shifting, that there's a flow and a synchronicity for the earth as well as for us. And so triple numbers is your higher self going, yes, yes, you're in sync, you're going well. Hi, Irene, that means it's 9 o'clock. I better keep going. So the other sign of being in the 5th dimension is that you believe in the non-physical, right? If you're on here, you understand that. That's something that you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't believe in the non-physical. So you're also at the moment having some major transformational journey. So COVID didn't change anything for me. In fact, I accelerated through COVID. I was aware that it was a major shift on the planet, was a breaking down of old patterns, all of those things. However, I've had a very personal transformation with my mum having a heart attack, breaking down of structures. She's now, you know, 3 times in the hospital. She's now bedbound at my auntie's house, and I'm living in the house that I grew up in by myself, going, oh, she's never coming back. What do I do? And feeling some really old memories, old structures. I've had issues with my hips that I've been working on, and I can now say I'm like 99% clear of, because I've been working on it with so many different levels and using some tools and that sort of thing. These are all transformational breakdowns and shifting into the new vibration, right? Your psychic ability is increasing, becoming more empathic or sensitive. Excuse me. You're very aware of the mass awakening that's happening right now, and you're connected to this mass awakening. You're aware that this is part of the process. This is part of what's going on for you, and there's an excitement to it instead of this concern about the economy and, you know, the planet falling apart and blah, 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 blah. You're aware that you're on a mission. You're on a mission to support this process, to support this breaking down, support this new shift into a different dimension. And you resonate to all of that. So if you resonate to any of that or all of that, then you are jumping into the 5th dimension, if not constantly in the 5th dimension. So things to remember: everything's happening in divine timing. So be aware it's okay. Whatever's going on for you, be aware that it's okay, and it's part of the process, right? Good morning, Irene. I think I just said that. I just saw you say it in our chat. Be aware of the mind that wants to trap you in 3D. The mind is happy where it is. The mind is in the process, is in the 3rd dimension, and wants to use that duality as part of the process. So when you find yourself slipping into making judgments, having anger, you know, any lowered vibrational emotions, anything that's causing, you know, a lot of density. Be aware that that's your mind trying to trap you down here in the third dimension, and that there's the opportunity to stay present to the fifth dimension. So meditation, prayer, silence, contemplation, all of these things are keys to transformational work and are very imperative at the moment as we go through that process of shifting into the higher dimensions. Connect with your higher source, your angels, your guides to support you through your journey. These beings are ready, willing, very excited about where we're at. We're really honored to be on the planet at the moment, to be having this experience, because those energies not envy us, but you know, they can see that we're privileged because we've got a physical body that they don't. We've got time, space where we can manifest something and watch it come to fruition, and go through this experience of it. Like, those things are really important for us to be aware of. It's okay for a manifestation to take a little time, because there's some growth and some beautiful energy that happens in that. Like, you get the opportunity to savor the process and to watch the different parts of yourself moving and growing and experiencing and dropping layers and exploring more layers. It's really, really important. And it's so important to listen to your intuition and not to second guess it. So I think that I'm done. If anyone wants to stay connected, if you're on the webinar and you haven't already, there's a little QR code where you can jump into my Spiritual Warrior business page and stay connected there. We've also got a page called the Women of Light. It's our 12-month anniversary at the moment, and we're doing some great prizes and competitions. This is our third week. This is our fourth week. We've just finished our third competition, so this will be our fourth week competition. Jump in there, heaps going on in there. If you want to find out any more information, or if something resonates to you and you're going, I need to sort that out, or I need someone that's got a little bit more understanding, please put yes please in the chat. I've got a few 30-minute conscious assessment calls left, and they're free 30-minute chats. You can come in and have a talk to me and just see if we can help you to go through that transition and to see what's going on for you as you go along. And last but least, thank you so much for attending. On the 29th of October, which I know is a long way away, however, we've got a Women of Light meetup and a guest speaker, Carmel Murphy. Discover 3 things your face is telling you. The more you understand about your experience, the better you can shift and understand your personal growth. And so this is going to be really, really interesting. She's a beautiful presenter and has done my facial analysis. It was very, very interesting. So if that's something that it sounds like you'd like to attend, it's on October the 29th at 6:30, usually goes till about 8. If that's something you'd like to know more about, just put meetup in the comments below and we can send you the link. And that's it. I hope you got some value from that, something that you can resonate with or contemplate. My mind still wants to think about it though. Yes, that's true, Christine. Yes, responding to life, being the observer. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for everyone that was on the webinar and got to see the slides. And for those that were on the Facebook Live, thank you so much. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will catch you on the flip side. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. See ya. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Sorry, week.